Welcome to Mind Your Business, the channel where we are in everybody's business. If you don't mind getting in people's business, you're on the right channel. Talking about current topics and gossip. Hello, my nosy people. So I am back. I wanted to get into this Love and Marriage Huntsville reunion. Again, another show that I've been watching since the very beginning, and I was very interested to see how this is going to play out, right? So, of course, for this reunion, Carlos King is hosting it, and I was actually happy to see this because, you know, you want someone who's going to actually kind of dig in and ask them some awkward questions. Although some of the questions that I feel like Carlos asked, I was a bit like, isn't that been really messy? But obviously that's what he's there to do, you know, being the king of reality. We know that he's had his hands in a lot of different reality TV shows, and he obviously created this one anyway, so he knows them through outs and knows their stories, you know, not to mention he's been doing this for over 15 years. So interestingly, they started off with, you know, the impact, you know, the fact that the show's done well and it's taken on a life of itself, you know, as he said, and mentioned the fact that, you know, understanding the impact it can have on mental health, which then kind of led to the fact that Tisha mentioned, you know, that she's come off Twitter and she found it quite harsh. And she remembers Carlos saying to her initially when, you know, before the show began, you know, kind of red flags to look out for and things to, you know, avoid. And he always says, don't read the comments on social media. So we all know everyone's got our opinions on social media, and you know, there's people that are saying whatever they feel, so it must be harsh for them from their perspective. And I always think when it comes to like these type of shows, the impact on your mental health is serious, and you have to understand that when you are starting to embark on this type of show, for sure. But I suppose you won't know how bad it is until you're actually in there. I cannot even imagine. But anyway, so they start off talking about the goal of the show. The goal of the show was actually to showcase power couples. So, you know, if you followed this show from the beginning, you know, kind of they came in like that. You know, it was all about, obviously, the Holtz. So you've got, you know, Mandy and Martell and, you know, their business together. And, of course, Tisha and Marcel. And then you've got Maurice and Kimmy. So, yeah, it did start off originally like that. But, of course, with all these shows, it gets into the relationships. It gets into all the drama. And like many of these sort of shows, you know, not all relationships seem to stand the test of time, because once the spotlight of people start watching it in your business, just like this channel is, it can be quite a bit of pressure, right? But anyway, so after talking about the kind of impact on mental health, you know, briefly, they started to get into the, you know, real nitty gritty. And of course, started off with showing some clips of Melody and Martell when they first, you know, started the show out, and how, you know, Martell sitting up there talking about he doesn't cheat, and Melody mentioning the whole cheating situation. So I thought it was really interesting that Carlos asked the question, you know, do any of them have any regrets, you know, about doing the show and the fact that they're no longer together, and the fact of the impact of that, you know, because doing the show, do you think that was essentially the reasoning for why they are maybe not together now? You know, because of the amplification of everything. Everyone's in your business. We know a lot of the people who are watching the shows were telling Melody to leave Martell based on the way he was behaving, which is quite understandable because that man is something else. But we'll get into that shortly. So Melody actually said that she had no regrets. Martell says that he does regret the show because, you know, he had his family before that, and obviously now that, you know, look where they are now. But I don't understand that kind of mentality, because the reason why you don't have your family is because of you in the first place. So, you know, the show amplified it or made it, you know, known to the public, but your wife still knew that you was cheating. So that was not going to end very well. And based on conversations how the reunion goes, you don't seem like you have any regrets. Doesn't make no sense to me. This man is something else. He's really got some very narcissistic traits, and not very self-reflective from what I can see anyway. So, you know, the fact that you're talking about losing your family, who told you to go and cheat on your wife? Like, I mean, seriously. Anyway, so yeah, Carlos basically asked Melody and Martell whether, you know, they both thought they'd still be married if it wasn't for the show. Melody was quick to say no, she didn't think they would, which I can see her point completely, given the fact that Martell had been cheating on her for how many years. And then Martell said, yes, he thought that they'd still be married. But he also felt like, you know, maybe Melody would never have left him anyway. But obviously that happened, and obviously that's not what he wanted to happen. I mean, the way his mind thinks is just, it's just ridiculous to me. I don't know this man is something else. So Carlos also mentioned the fact about the image of the show and the fact that it started it out being about these black professionals, doing their businesses and, trying to be positive. And I feel like, you still see the business element, which I think is positive. But of course, like with any reality TV show, drama is what sells. And, if you have drama going on in your life, then they're going to definitely highlight that and spotlight that. So I kind of get that they're talking around the whole, the positive to negative, or as Maurice said, the show, people saying it's gone from sugar to shit. But like Marcel said, actually, I think that they have done a lot in terms of, being positive in terms of their businesses and things that they're doing. But of course, negatives will show out too. I think no human being is perfect. So you're going to see, the flaws in everything. So I feel like that's just what it is. And you should sign up for a reality show is going to come with a lot of drama. If you don't know, then what are you really doing? Speaking about Maurice, the next segment was about Kimmy and this whole side chick debacle. Now, basically, Martel starts off saying how he heard Kimmy was a side chick from Marcel. Yeah, Maurice says it's impossible that Kimmy was his side chick, stating that he left Kiowa and was not living with her for at least a year, or nearly a year, I should say, and that when he met Kimmy, that he had already filed for divorce. And that got brought up because Carlos mentioned how whenever the side chick comment gets brought up in the show, Maurice don't really stand up for Kimmy. And I thought the same thing. I thought you could just dead that straight away and just be like, yeah, that's not really the case. But he's trying to say like he's not giving it any attention because it's just not true. And I can see why Kimmy would get annoyed with it because, Kimmy's one of my favourites on the show. And I get why she would be annoyed with this whole talk. But it sounds like technically he may have still been technically married on paper, but obviously was separated. And he already said himself that he was wilding out as soon as he left Kiowa. And the reason why they got divorced was, it was something unforgivable. He didn't go into it, but it sounded like he was wilding out way after they, as soon as they separated. So I suppose his point was any one of those women that he was seeing at that point could have been seen as a side chick, not necessarily Kimmy, because of the fact that it was like way down the line. But I think that narrative is also not helped by the fact that you've got Tisha, who's brought it up before, and it seemed like she quickly backpedaled when Carlos put it on her and said, well, have you heard that she was a side chick? So she backpedaled and said, oh, well, it was Kiowa who used that term. So interesting. And then obviously you've got Martel saying he heard it from Marceau. And then if that's the case, then, it's just a lot of chatty-patty stuff going on in it, really. But of course, Kimmy doesn't think it's funny, and you wouldn't be thinking it's funny if you're the one being called a side chick if you're not a side chick. So obviously that's where she's getting herself a little bit amped up about. But I feel like there is something there. I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just a little bit of a blur in terms of, like I said, the timeline. To me, they were separated, but maybe just on the paper side, it seems like they weren't officially divorced. But doesn't mean that you can't necessarily move on. People seem to do it all the time. So, what do you guys think about that one? What I thought was interesting, though, was that Kimmy, because I always think she's quite respectful, and she, said that she mentioned the whole situation, and then she said that she spoke to Kiowa as they're trying to build a relationship going forward, and kind of gave her the heads up to say, look, it will come up again, but, don't worry about it. So I thought that was quite decent because they're trying to move forward. When the TV show stops, they still have to live in the real world together, don't they? So I kind of get that. So on to Melody and Martel, okay? So they showed a recap of their relationship, which I thought was interesting to see going back. But what I thought was also good was that Carlos got into the whole nitty-gritty around, what made them go from being like they were getting back together again to obviously getting divorced. Obviously, we know about this side chick and the baby, so of course everyone else would have been thinking that's obviously one of the main reasons for it, but so yeah, it was quite interesting to hear Carlos get into a little bit of that, the fact that they broke up, they came back together, they were working on their marriage, they seemed like they were kind of trying to get to a good place. Then the pandemic hit, and has Carlos put like, what the hell was you leaving your house during a pandemic? Yeah, who was leaving the house during a pandemic? Mel even was talking about how, they were together. They were, trying to have family fun. They were making milkshakes in the house. But then she noticed that Martel kept leaving the house. Yeah, where are you going? If you're leaving the house for long hours at a time, like, this guy is not serious. You've been out here chatting about you want your wife back, you love your family, this, that, and the other. Like, you're a proper need your head sorted out. I don't understand what's wrong with that man. And I cannot blame Melody for making the move that she's made. So you're telling her, when Carlos asked, why was you leaving the house, you had the audacity to say you're going to the gym during the pandemic when everyone knows that the gyms were closed. Like, come on, dude. Like, come on, man up and just admit what you were doing, right? You were going and you were whipping out your penis, as he said, during the middle of a pandemic, yeah? And like Carlos put it does seem that need was much more important to you than your family, than your wife and your kids. So you left the house for hours at a time to go to gyms that were apparently closed because it's during the pandemic. Like, sort it out, brother. Man up and just say, yes, you were cheating with a woman. You've got the baby to show for it now. Like, what is with all the lies? I don't get it. Man up and say it. But no, he's chatting about, no, he wasn't cheating. And then obviously Melody recapped a conversation that she had with him, and, where it felt like for her, he was trying to get her to, accept him cheating. And then she started to realise, and she said that this is after she had their last child, Milani, and he kept saying, that basically she should accept it. And I don't really blame her for getting divorced. Clearly, he's not trying to change. Yeah, so what was interesting about that point that Melody brought up about the fact that he sought out advice from elder men who told him basically to just get more clever at cheating. So for her main breaking point was the fact that he didn't seem like he was going to change. He just wanted to continue to cheat. And to me, that was more than enough. She put up with so many years of it anyway. And it's gotten to the point where even throughout the storyline, even as I was watching it out this season, it's just like, okay, you guys are getting my nerves now even. Because it's like, obviously there's a lot of emotion there and there's a lot of hurt and pain there. Martel doesn't want to own anything, and that's problematic in itself. He actually tried to say he wasn't sleeping with another woman. And hence why Carlos said, well, how did she get pregnant? Come on, stop lying. Like, what is wrong with you? I don't understand. It's like he goes from one show, you think, okay, every season you should be getting better, not getting worse. I don't understand it. Again, Martel just needs to man up and be responsible. But I think he's just completely delusional. I mean, how are you going to sit up there and talk about, yeah, you didn't cheat when your side chick got pregnant? Like, what are you talking about? And then obviously Melody mentions this whole phone call situation where she said that they were at home together, and, she thought everything was fine at the time, and she gets this phone call, and, he gets a phone call, sorry. She notices his phone ringing, and then she decides to answer it, and it's a side chick, and, side chick's giving her attitude, and how, Marceau tried to kind of console her because her mum, called Marceau and told him that Martel and Melody were arguing and whatnot. So it almost seemed like Martel was trying to insinuate that Marceau was trying to move to Melody. And based on what Melody was saying and Marceau, it just seemed to me that he was just trying to be a friend, just trying to like calm it down. So yeah, it felt like Martel was trying to insinuate Marcel was trying to move to Melody. I have to say, sidebar, from this recent season that we've been watching, right? So I still feel like they have shown little clips where it looks like Melody and Marcel have their own little banter. Also, I thought that whole line of questioning, it was interesting to watch Tisha's body language, because you can see her eyes only pop out her head, and she's looking at Marcel like, did you go out for drinks with Melody? What's this about drinks? Like, she came across a little bit insecure. So I thought that was interesting. What do you guys think? Also, I feel like Martel was trying to make it a bigger deal out of the drinks thing. It was probably like how Marcel described it, sounded believable in the sense of, she's quite irate. She's just, found out a lot about her man. She's out driving. He just said they'd meet somewhere. And yeah, he might have said, should we go for a drink to calm the nerves? But maybe Martel's thinking, oh, what, you're going to calm her nerves and try and move in on her. But I take that more as, Martel judging him to his own standards. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not no big Marceau, I don't know how you say his name, but I'm not the biggest fan of him because I feel like he's just some throwback from the archaic times, the way he goes on with Tisha. But the fact that he was there for Melody, I think, is nice, and just leave it there. Melody kind of quashed that, so that's fine. But Tisha's face, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. But I feel like Martell is just bitter. You know, he's just bitter, just trying to throw his toys at the pram. And he's messed up. He messed up big time. And now I feel like rather than just own it and saying, you know what, I really just messed up, he just keeps digging his own little grave. And I don't understand what is wrong with the dude. It's like, brother, sort it out. But again, the whole lying thing around the, you know, side chick, that is another reason why I'm glad that Carlos hosted the show, because he asked the real question, which is, well, you know, so, you know, the gym weren't open, so what else was open? And, you know, if you weren't cheating, how did someone get pregnant? Right, yes, let's just get to the real nitty gritty. What I also found really interesting was their questioning to Melody about her alleged cheating, because of course Martell has been, you know, singing this since the season came back. Oh, you cheated. So it's like, where was the evidence? So now she admitted to having something, but this is after they had separated and then she thought she weren't going back to him. So you still cheated, Martell, so you cannot still try and throw Melody under the bus by saying this. This is you driving her to cheat, essentially. Because literally, she mentioned about this fellatio situation. Now, the one thing she did mess up on is her not remembering if she returned this favour to this guy who apparently performed it on her. Like, hello, Melody, please. You do, you know, or you don't know. You did or you didn't. I don't think that helped your case, because, you know, everyone's in your corner like, this guy is a joker. But let's not act like we have amnesia. Let's just be straight with it, you know, whatever the case. But we shall see going forward whether they dig any deeper into that anyway. But you can see Melody was not necessarily too happy about that or being put on the spot about that, because the way Martell has been kind of, you know, narrating the story for his own benefit. The question that I didn't like that Carlos asked was at the end about, you know, putting across the point that it seems like this side chick has such a pull on him. Maybe he loved her, which clearly I could understand the question about that. You know, yes, clearly Martell must love this woman if he's leaving his whole family, his wife, his children during a pandemic to go and see this woman. So that I got, but I still felt like the question about, you know, would he have married this side chick had he not met Melody, was a bit redundant because he had already met Melody. So how can you change that? Like, it's redone. It's like, you know, you're trying to rewrite history. Doesn't make no sense. The only thing that will come out of that is just Melody getting hurt. And the fact that Martell was taking this long pause was quite ridiculous. Was that him or was that editing? Really unnecessary, very unnecessary. You can see her looking quite uncomfortable. But anyway, I'm looking forward to the next reunion part 2. I'm looking forward to getting into what's going on with, obviously, Tisha and Marsu, and this side baby thing has still been going on. I'm sure they'll be bringing on Miss Wonder, and, you know, she's going to be interesting, of course. And then obviously there's Tiffany, who I'm not really a big fan of since she's joined the show. She seems quite messy, but we'll see how that goes. And Destiny, I quite like Destiny, but I do feel like she is shooting herself in the foot here and there, like the way she handled Melody at her event, and making it about her at her event. So it'd be interesting to see how they kind of get along in the reunion. So I will be watching, I will be commenting, so stay tuned and let me know what your thoughts are of this reunion down below. Oh, sidebar. And can we just take a moment to talk about these reunion outfits? Like, wasn't really feeling this outfit that Tisha was wearing. Like, what in the big bird? And what about the hair? Like, I don't always go on about these sort of things, you know. I'm not trying to be petty, but the hair, the what was going on? Like, what in the world? I was like, no, Tisha, I've seen you come up with some better hairstyles. Like, why? Who did this to you? I don't really like that. I don't like this little fluffy bit you got in the back there. I don't know what was going on. But, yeah, and that's why I put Martell and his suit. Nice colour, but why has it got to be so tight? Can you breathe, dude? Can you actually breathe? Yes, so thanks for watching that. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and hit that notification bell so you know when I am uploading some more of people's business. So until then, my nosy people, stay blessed.